Welcome to the Heart of Giving. Today we have something really special. You know, there are all type of nonprofits in the city of Long Beach, and there's so many things that are going on that you've heard about already. But this is one that we probably should have had a long time ago because it's been around a long, long time. And that is the Long Beach Playhouse. And they are on Anaheim. I know you've driven by it. But today we have the artistic director, Andrew Vanderschmidt, and Madison Mooney, who is the business operator. Business operations operator. Okay, manager. And you're both really young. And I can remember when I was in high school and we were talking about the people, and my husband was in a play and at the Long Beach Playhouse. So it's been part of our city for years and years and years. And it's never really stopped, has it?
It's one of the things that we tout is we're the longest continuously operating community theater west of the Mississippi.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. 85
you
years.
know,
1929.
There's something, how many years is that?
85.
Well, yeah, we'll be hitting our 86th anniversary.
Oh, my land, is that right? Well, it's kind of like the Long Beach Municipal Band. It's been here 100 years.
Yeah.
You're part of that era where they didn't have these things as much as they have now. So, well, welcome. I'm glad
Thank
you're
you.
here.
Thank you for having us.
So tell us a little bit about the background, not a whole lot because I know you want to talk about today and what you're doing today, but being as you know how many years it's been in operation.
Yeah, so they started in 1929 just to put on some shows. It wasn't about bottom lines. It was just about providing theater for the community.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and they continued on in a lot of different spaces, and in 48, I believe, is when they decided to buy a piece of land and build a theater, and that's where we are now. It opened their first show in 1951 on our main stage that we've been producing there ever since.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good location, you know, as far
Great
as,
location.
you know, some parking, and that's marvelous. And but you have not just the main stage. What do you have now?
We also have a studio theater.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah, that was built in the mid-60s.
Yeah.
And the difference between the two?
Well, they built the studio theater in like Madison said, in the mid-60s, and it's gone through a lot of different changes throughout the years. Right now, what we do is more contemporary theater upstairs and more traditional theater downstairs. We have a unique opportunity to be able to offer two different fairs of theater for the community.
Well, like the studio theater, I think it's in the category of 99 seats or less, and you can have equity people that will be there that are professionals that can help.
Yeah, they can work on our stage, and what it is, it's called an equity waiver. So we can't afford to pay equity wages, but they still want to work there.
Sure,
you know, 'cause
sure,
we
and
do
want to be
good theater.
seen.
Yeah.
Very good. And how long have you been with them? And tell me what you do.
I've been there coming up on 8 years total. I've done lots. I've been the technical director. I've been the artistic director for about 5 years now, and I've been ED, producing artistic director, kind of in charge of the whole place for a couple of years now. So.
And Madison?
I've been the business and operations manager for about 3 years now, but before that, stage managing, acting, volunteering since about mid-2009.
Oh, is that right? So the two of you had other jobs and you kind of immersed into what you're doing now.
Yeah, when we decided we wanted to hire a business manager, we looked at Madison and thought, why hasn't she applied for that job yet? Because she's the perfect person for it. So we talked her into it, and it was one of the best decisions we've made.
That's great. Very good. And what do you think you do for the community?
We're here for the community. That's what we do. We're here for the community. It's not just about producing theater that they can see. It's also about being open for them to be a part of the theater. They can volunteer. They can volunteer in front of the house. They can work backstage. Anyone can audition. Anyone can work on our shows. We encourage the participation of everyone.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
the
whole point.
community putting on a show for the community.
I've had friends that were in shows almost every year for 20 years, you know, playing different parts and different, you know, didn't bring the difference if it was a big role or a little role.
Yeah.
They just liked being part of the stage.
Yeah, it's like a very family feel. My first show there, working on a show before I was a paid employee, I thought to myself, I need to work here. I want to keep coming back because the feeling in that building is very family feeling, very community. And that was one of the things that drew me in.
You know, and it's interesting. I think that when you go to a production, wherever it is, you usually see actors' equity people, but the Long Beach Community Playhouse has really brought in the community because you see your neighbor
Yeah.
up there in something. And as you say, I don't think people realize that they have auditions for the parts that they see on the stage.
Yeah, I love hearing stories from actors about them waiting tables at the restaurant they work and someone saying, I remember you in that show,
Oh,
you were
yes.
great.
Yes.
You know, that we know each other in the community as well as in the Playhouse. It's really nice.
What's coming up?
Oh, we're doing a Real Thing, The Real Thing by Tom Stoppard. It's coming up real soon. We're going to close our main stage season with Jesus Christ Superstar,
Oh, wow.
That's
which is
gonna
going to
be a
be
fun one.
really fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Very good.
a lot of fun stuff coming.
So now, do you do musicals and?
Yeah, and straight plays. I like to try to keep it very balanced, to try to do as much across the board as possible because there's something for everybody in that way. There's always going to be something for anyone when they find us.
If you know, I have a friend who has a little boy who he wants to do something like act, you know, which I can't believe. But do you have a list of things that are coming up and what you need for?
Absolutely. lbplayhouse.org is our website, and just visit that, and we have everything that's coming up. And as far as the kids that want to get involved, we have a summer youth conservatory we do every year.
Let's hear about that a little bit.
It's a 3-week intensive musical theater conservatory. It's all day, 5 days a week, and they get to do a performance
What,
at
for
the
a
end of it. For 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
For 3 weeks. And they get to do their own performance for their friends and family at the end of it. And it's really exciting. Our usual business day is very quiet. It's just a few of us in the offices doing our work during that time.
Then we have 40 kids crawling all over the building. It's
And loving it.
yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah.
That's great. Well, that's a good program to know,
Yeah,
but
it's
to
great,
have
yeah.
people know about, because that gets an interest at an early age, and especially for some of these kids.
Yeah, sometimes they come back and play Tiny Tim for us the next year, which
Yeah.
is what happened last year.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we've had great kids come through the program, and then they've auditioned for some of our main stage or studio shows, and it's been wonderful seeing them, improve and become more interested in the arts and all of that.
And you find new people coming from the city all the time?
Oh yeah, yeah. Every show we produce has a mixture of veteran actors who've worked there for years and brand new to the Playhouse actors who keep coming back as well. So it's a continual kind of recycle.
And how many productions a year do you do?
13.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we do
That's-
eight shows on our main stage and 5 shows in our studio. And that's not counting our collaborative efforts with other theaters in the area.
So you don't direct all of them?
No, God, no. It's definitely
You know.
not the Andrew von der Schmidt Playhouse. It's
Yeah,
the Long
yeah.
Beach Playhouse. I do get to direct a couple a year, but we have a lot of amazing directors who work there. And again, just like our actors, we like to try to bring in new people all the time to keep things fresh. You know?
And how do you become a director?
Send me an
Yeah.
email. Send me an email. and
With
let's
some
talk.
background?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Is that right?
Yeah. Are you interested?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think I'd be out of my element.
All right. Well, we can put you on stage though.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, I think I was doing something, and I can't even remember what it was. It was actually when I was an adult. So I did something there that I can't even remember what it
Well,
was.
we have
but,
great archives. When we get back to the
Yeah,
office,
we can
Oh
double
we're
check
yeah,
gonna
that.
have to look
don't
that up.
please. I would prefer not.
Okay.
But the things that it has brought to our community, I think we can say that this was probably the first community collaborative for the arts
It was. Yeah.
that we had at the time, and to think that it's continued on. And I've known quite a few people that have gone through and have worked there and have been part, and they still are part of the community in one
Yeah,
phase
and
or
some
another.
of them went on to be famous actors, and some of them
Yeah.
still work here.
Yeah. Well, I wish I could think of the name of the lady that, Barbara Britton. Was it Barbara Britton? Oh, this is before you were born. So, but anyway, there were some actresses years and years and years ago that became known in Hollywood
Yeah.
from Long Beach, and I don't know, I think they were part of the theater at the very beginning. So
yeah, we've had some people grace our stage.
and do you have a board, a citizens board?
Yes, we do. We have a board of
Yes,
directors.
board of directors.
17-member board of directors.
Yeah, and one of the things I know, and it's a tender subject, I think, that in a community playhouse as you have, the ticket sales don't keep it going.
No.
If you devoted yourself just to the ticket sales, you would have no productions or maybe one a year.
Yeah, we'd be a different.
So
different
how are you subsidized?
That's a Madison question for sure.
Well, we have our ticket sales. We also have a wonderful pool of donors and members.
Yes.
We've been fortunate to receive some grants from both private foundations and government grants. And
But you have to apply for them.
Oh, yes.
So
yeah.
that's a full-time job.
That's part of my job, yeah.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah, applying for grants and all that. And then we have, we'll have rentals come in. People use our space. That's, partial of our income. But yeah, it's mostly donors, grants, and ticket sales.
And you do rent out your facilities, because I had a friend who had her 90th birthday there, because it was a large space and there was a place for refreshments and people to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. We rent out our space. We also open it up to outside theater companies that don't have their own space to let them use our space to produce their show. We make a few dollars off of that as well, but it's mostly about giving them that opportunity. But that does help the bottom line a little bit.
Well, I'm glad you have a strong group working with you, as members of a board that show their thanks and interest in making
they
sure
do a
that
lot of
you
work
stay.
for us,
Oh yeah,
definitely.
That's great. Well, I don't know where the time goes on things like this, because there's, I wanted to ask you about some of the productions that were coming up, and I'm sorry that I didn't, but our time is up. But I am so pleased that you've been here.
Thank you very much
Long
for having
Beach
us.
Community
Thank you.
Playhouse. It's a sacred name in the city. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for being here. And we'll be right back. Welcome back. And I am so happy to have our next guest. Our next guest has brought such a joy to the city of Long Beach for so many years now. And it's another one of our arts programs that we have in the community that we're so fortunate to have. And we have the person who's responsible for it with us now. And that's Paul Garman. Paul is the everything for Musical Theater West. And I just am so thrilled that you're here.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Bev. It's just great.
That's
Thank
just
you.
wonderful. And really, Musical Theater West has really made an impact, appearing in Long Beach at the Carpenter Center. There's parking. It's
a
easy
great
to
venue
get to.
for us,
a
yeah.
great venue.
And we're so pleased to be a part of the university campus, because
Yes.
that's such an icon here in Long Beach. So
Yeah, well,
it was,
for the people that maybe, and I don't think there's anybody out there that hasn't heard about Musical
I'm
Theater
sure there's
West.
lots.
Why don't you start and just talk about the background and how you ended up here?
Musical Theater West is in its 62nd year.
No, you have to look at me.
Yeah, I will look at you.
Yeah, because we never know where to look on
okay.
these things.
Musical Theater West is in its 62nd year. We started in the city of Whittier in 1952. And then when the city of La Mirada built their theater in 1978, we moved there and became the resident group of the La Mirada Theater. And then after the Long Beach Civic Light Opera went bankrupt in the mid-90s, it just opened a dialogue with us to perhaps want to move down here to Long Beach. We offered the people that had bought season tickets to the shows at the Long Beach Civic Light Opera before they went under and had paid their money, the opportunity to exchange those tickets free of charge to our shows in La Mirada. And about 15,000 people took us up on it. And from that we realized that there was a deep yearning for musical theater here in the city of Long
Absolutely.
Beach. And so we decided to just move down here, lock, stock, and barrel, which we did in 1998, and have been very, very happy here and have continued to grow. And this particular season, which is our 62nd season, we started with the largest number of subscribers we've had in 62 years. So
Well,
we're very pleased.
I can understand why.
Well-
The productions have just been not just professional, but they've been enlightening and enjoyable, and
We love doing it, and more and more performers are coming from New York that want to perform with us. These are not touring productions. That's probably something we should say. Every production is cast here locally. We have auditions about 8 weeks before the show. We have actors come from New York, from out of state, a lot of local people, a lot of people from LA. We normally see between 300 and 500 actors for every show, and from that we select a cast of between 20 and 30, however many the show calls for, and so the talent that's out there is just amazing.
It seemed to me that I either was talking with one of the actors that commented that he had been here for several productions, or 2 or 3 productions, but back in New York he was in a production where at least 4 of the people in that production had been here.
Yes, that's quite true. I just came back from New York, and right now there's 23 musicals playing in New York, and of those 23 musicals, 19 of them have people that have been in shows from Musical Theater West.
Is that
in them.
right?
And several of them are kids that actually started in Musical Theater West productions that are now doing lead roles on Broadway, so we're very proud of them.
Oh my goodness,
Very,
that's
very proud of them.
wonderful. Well, talk about some of the things you've done that you've been happy about. Well, you're happy about everything.
I'm happy about everything,
know,
but the
because
show that we just did, Big Fish, was a particular favorite of mine. I had seen an out-of-town tryout for Big Fish, which is based on the movie, a Tim Burton movie, Big Fish, in April of a year ago in Chicago. And I thought, gee, this show has a lot of heart, and this show has a nice message. And then it went on to New York, and it didn't last. It only ran for about 4 months, from September to December. And so I learned that it was closing, and I asked if I could acquire the rights and be the first theater to do a regional premiere of it, our own production. And they said yes, I could. And so I bought the Broadway sets and the Broadway costumes,
Oh my.
and we did our production in October and November of this year, and it far exceeded all my expectations, both artistically, audience response, even the school children that came to see it, because for every performance we do at least 2 performances for young people. 10 a.m. on a Thursday or Friday morning, we bus the school kids in to see the show. It's all done through donations. We don't charge the schools anything. And so we had 2 performances for young people, but because it was a longer show, we could only do the first act. And we had more kids come back to see the show with their parents in the evening of that next weekend
So they
than
could
I've
see the
ever had,
other-
so they could see the other half, because they really wanted to know how the story ended.
Is that
It made
right?
that kind of an impact. So I was just so pleased with the production, and it was a great success for us. And
Why didn't it
people-
last longer on Broadway?
You know, the New York critics are so brutal sometimes, and if one person feeds it a sour notice and they all kind of jump on board. And it's just a production that had so much heart.
Well, it was so-
a tender story of a father and son, and it was just a real tearjerker.
You know, and at the end, it was, you
Yeah.
know, because what happened at the end
Yeah.
kind of brought everything together, and it's, oh.
It just was a beautiful story, and it's when we're able to do something like that that's a little bit off the beaten path, you know, when we can do something that's just been seen in New York, or we've actually done several world premieres ourselves too, but our mission is to support the art form of musical theater, which is a truly unique American art form.
Yes.
It's one of the only art forms that was really founded here in the United States. And so to keep that going and to keep it alive to the future generations is what we're all about. And to be able to present the classics, next show up is South Pacific. So can't get more classic than that.
That's right.
And then Les Miserables is in April, and then coming up in July is Singing in the Rain. So we did this brand new show in October, and now we're following it 3 more traditional ones. And next year we're going to do 2 newer shows and 2 older shows. So it's just a great way to educate the audiences of tomorrow about musical theater as well.
And I've heard that when you have open tryouts, you get more and more coming to try
As I
out.
say, for Beauty and the Beast, which was last July, we had 575 people there. We were there for 3 days from 9 o'clock in the morning until midnight, seeing people
And
audition.
how many parts? How many
There
did you
were
need?
24 roles.
Out of and
Out of
5.
575 people. And really, there was nobody that I would have given the gong to. You know, sometimes you have auditions, and there's some people that, bless their hearts, they come in audition, but they really shouldn't be. But in this particular case, there really was nobody. The talent was so extraordinary. And I was just so pleased with the cast. And that show also, it became our #1 highest grossing show.
Is that
and
right?
we added a couple of performances. And what was so thrilling was to see all the parents with the kids, or the parents with the grandchildren with their grandparents, and just whole families coming in to see musical theater, which is what we're all about. We want to make sure that we continue that on for those future generations.
Well, you've been highly successful, but you can't be highly successful unless because you are, as I've said to another group, you don't make your money to do these things by tickets.
No, you have to have the support
Support.
of the community,
That's
and we
right.
have ticket sales account for about 70% of our budget, and 30% of it comes through our fundraising efforts
Yeah.
and through donations. And the community has been so supportive of Musical
Well,
Theater
I think
West.
you have more excited board members than
We
I've
have
seen, because
great board members, and they all give of their time and their expertise as well as their finances. And there's 20 on the board and another 20 on the board of trustees, which help oversee what we're doing. And then we have a community advisory board of another 10 or 15. So all in all, there is about a support group of about 500 volunteers that help support Musical Theater West. We have a guild that usher at all the performances and help feed the cast and things like that. And then we have another group called the Musical Theater West Footlighters that give luncheons before each of the show and try to get people enthusiastic about seeing the show. So as I say, all together there's about 500 volunteers that are working very hard to make Musical Theater West a success. So my hardworking staff is one reason, but all the volunteers that are behind us as well is another reason.
well, you know, I probably shouldn't get into it this much, but if you have someone with your energy and enthusiasm for what you're doing, it's contagious.
Well,
And
people do say it's hard to say no to me.
Well, I understand that, but you know, it's to have somebody who is so strong in the feelings and has the emotion and the time and the energy
Well,
that
I love
you
what
have.
I do.
Well, that's just marvelous, Paul.
I just love it. I love musical theater. I started out performing as a kid, so I love the art form. But even more is the joy of being able to help younger people in their careers, because our shows have a mixture of professional actors and amateurs working their way up, and to help them along in their careers, and then to see these young kids coming to our shows and being educated about musical theater and excited about it. It
Now, are
just
these? Is this from the Unified School District?
This is from Long Beach Unified School District, but also other schools from outside the district too, but primarily from the Long Beach Unified School
And
District.
is it a certain age?
It depends. Each show is appropriate for certain age groups.
Oh, is that
so,
right?
you know, Big Fish had a little bit more of a mature theme, so I think we said 5th grade and above. Singing in the Rain is much more fun and lighthearted. I think it's 3rd grade and above. A show like Man of La Mancha that we did a couple years ago was junior high and above. So it just, each show kind of depends. We send out a letter to the district-wide in August, and then they get back to us with their reservations in September, and we book the whole year and pretty much sell out every performance right away. And I say sell out, but they're coming for free. So
Yeah. But
it's-
you also do some other things, outreach in the community.
we do. We do. We have a traveling show that goes to the schools as an assembly. There's 2 of them. There's one called From the Page to the Stage, and one called We Tell Their Story.
And you do it for the
We
assemblies?
do it for assemblies in schools. We just did it at Bancroft Elementary last week, and we had 2 assemblies of about 350 kids each. And they loved it. They had a great time. And then From the Page to the Stage talks about how books are made into Broadway musicals. So it takes the story of Don Quixote made into Man of La Mancha. It takes the adventures of Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer that was made into Big River. And it talks about the books and how exciting it is to read the books, and then how they became musicals. We tour the libraries with that every summer, and then we tour all the parks and recs here in Long Beach as well. So it's just a great way to engage the kids.
That's marvelous. I didn't know you were doing all of that.
We do. We reach about 17 to 20,000 kids every year.
Do you do anything in the summer necessarily?
We do a summer youth conservatory for kids,
Ah.
where kids come and take classes and so forth at our building. And then we do this library tour, and then we do the tour of the parks and recs as well. So
For heaven's sake.
it was pretty much all year round operation.
Well, not just your productions, but what you do to educate the youth.
It's a very big, important
Yeah,
part of what
absolutely.
we do. because they're our audience of tomorrow. And you know, studies have shown that the children that are exposed to the arts at an early age do 80% better on their SAT scores, are much more likely to enter college, become the creative thinkers of your community. So it's just so important to expose kids to the arts at an early age.
Absolutely. And I think some of them have never seen anything.
Many times we'll find.
They've never been in an auditorium where there's something going on the stage like that.
The thank you letters that I get from the kids are just darling. But one of them I remember, many times, I shouldn't say one, they'll talk about how big the auditorium was and how comfortable the seating was and how large the restrooms were. So they've just never been to anything like that before. And you know, then they'll say something about the show, but they talk all about the physical things first, which is really fun.
Absolutely.
Which is
Well,
really-
that's growth.
It is.
That's
It is.
growth in so many ways.
It is. And many times you'll hear one will write, you know, I was just so, it was so nice that I could come to see this because, you know, quite frankly, my family couldn't afford to come to something
yeah.
like this. So
Oh,
it
yeah.
was so nice you let me come for free. So those type of letters just, you know, touch your heartstrings.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, you're helping so many things and people in the community, and I
Well,
just...
it's our joy to do it. We want to just keep continuing growing and
Yeah.
expose more people to the art of
Well,
musical
I
theater.
think you're sold out every night. So
Well, many times we
yes.
are, but there's always
So-
a few more tickets. So
Well-
South Pacific, as I said, is coming up, and so hopefully that'll be sold out every
That's great.
performance.
Well, it's nice to hear music like that.
Oh,
too.
we love it too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Oh,
It's just been
my pleasure to be
marvelous.
here.
Nice to have you,
Thank you
Paul. Thanks
so
so
much for having me.
Yeah, it's
Thank you.
Thank you. See, I told you. It was a wonder treat to have Paul Garman here with us from Musical Theater West. And so we're glad that you joined us and knowing about what's happening in the community and how it's helping our youth and the joy of our citizens. Thank you very much for being with us.